Alright, it's time for another acrylic painting. This one we're going to do some tree details in the trunks and everything, bark and things like that. And we're going to talk about the importance of open air, some space, letting things breathe. So join me as I do a little painting I call Walk With Me. Welcome everyone. Well, I guess I'll address the first thing you probably noticed was the canvas isn't white, it has paint on it already. Well, I have learned that if you put a thin wash of like burnt umber or something down, it makes it easier to see the colors. And since I am visually impaired, I went ahead and I started doing this, and it works out really great. It really does make a difference to me. To be able to see the colors against something warm like that instead of that bright stark white. It does tend to give you a false sense of the color. So I started doing that. Okay, well, here we go. I laid down, of course, the underpainting just to get something on there, map things out a little bit, and just have at it. This is going to be lots of green again. Lots of trees and bushes and shrubs and a little bit of sky and a path. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Now, again, I will remind everyone, when I talk about things and how I do things and this is the way to do things, I mean this is the way I do things. I have no idea of what I'm doing. I will be straight up front and honest. I have had no formal training. I am not an artist in any way, shape, or form. I just do what I see and do what I have found over the years works best. And through watching some videos and listening to other people who actually know what the hell they're doing. But yeah, I don't pretend to know anything about anything. Color theory or anything. This is what I've learned through doing this. And just some basic knowledge that, it doesn't apply too much in this painting, but, if you're doing a mountain far in the back or trees in the far distance, and then as they get closer, the color, the saturation, the tones, all that does change. There's atmosphere between you and distant things, and the things that are right in your face are more vibrant and bigger and more detailed. And so some of it's just straight up logic and knowledge of, being on the planet for over over a decade. But yeah, so this is just me babbling through my process, telling you how I do things. Again, you may learn something, you may not. Even if you learn what not to do, you're still learning something. But I do hope you enjoy these, because I enjoy doing them. Alright, so again, we got started. There's going to be trees in the distance, trees and bushes as we get closer and closer, and then we're going to have some trees right up front in your face, as you can see off to the right there. This again is another lesson in green, different greens. And the lesson is more for me than anyone else. beginning, I mentioned about going to be about trees. More or less, it's about the amount of attention and detail you pay to the trunks and branches of trees that are close. I'm not talking about those ones way off in the distance. Yeah, you're not going to go put little bark and knots and things like that on them. It doesn't matter that much. You can do certain things to trick the eye, to imply a certain amount of detail, to imply certain things, and your eye will see it, your brain will fill it in, and that's the beauty of paintings and other art that isn't photography. It's not actually what you do see, it's what you make the viewer perceive as detail. You put a couple squiggly lines here and there, and it's amongst some greenery, and your brain says that must be a branch. And that's just the way these things work. That's how you can take advantage of some of these things while you're doing paintings, using different tones of the green. Tells your eye and tells your brain that, hey, that's farther away. This is closer, without even seeing the detail. I usually start in the back and work my way forward as much as possible, with the exception of that big tree trunk I put on the right hand side because I just wanted that place there for the composition. But yeah, I start in the back that way. When I start putting things in the foreground and covering them up, I don't have to carefully paint around them and do this and that. So sometimes I forget. Sometimes I see something that needs added. So I will go and try to squeeze in behind and around things to put in a little bit of this or that, a branch or a bush or some leaves or something. But for the most part, I try to work from far away to near. And that's another one of those things people often ask. Why did you go through all that to paint that, do that, draw in a leaf and a tree and this and that bush, and then throw a big old tree trunk in front of it and cover it all up? Well, it just happens that way sometimes. And again, it's easier to put it in and possibly cover it up later than try to put it in after. And here, a little bit about that detail, about making trees look more lifelike and realistic with the detail. Working on this one. Comes out pretty decent, I think, if I do say so myself. And for me, the underpainting and the getting everything ready to get up to the detail point, that is the, I guess you would call it the anticipation part for me. The tedious part, the part that I don't look forward to that much. This is the part, believe it or not, that I get excited about, which is the part that often people use a word that I just used, the tedious part, but that is the part that I enjoy. Not the big sweeping cover the canvas in color stuff. It's breaking out the smaller brushes and putting in those little marks, the little fine details that when you can see things really coming together and popping and going, hey, that looks pretty close to real. And no, I'm not getting carried away. I know it doesn't look all that real, but, you know, as opposed to just painting a brown tree looking like a telephone pole. So yeah, it is fun. It's rewarding. And I enjoy that process far more than, again, slapping a whole bunch of green on a canvas or blue to make a sky or something. Yeah, I enjoy this process far more. I guess you could say that having limited sight and that, I guess you could call it tunnel vision, kind of makes me focus on smaller areas at a time, and because that's all I can see. So I guess that's why, if one would be to surmise, one would guess that is why I enjoy the smaller details and the finer points, because even in real life, when looking at things, that's all I can see at one time is that small little portion of a scene. So I tend to take those things in, and that's what I enjoy recreating. All right, here you can notice everything's starting to look a little bit more like something, with putting in the darks as well as the lights and the midtones, and you can see the bushes there at the end of the path, if you will, starting to evolve and turn into something besides a big green blob. And this is when I start to get excited and start to want to continue and not put the brushes down, because after you, like I say, sling the paint on and goes, look, there's a big green blob and there's a brown blob, then it's still not too interesting for me yet. But yeah, getting to the point where I'm getting excited and don't want to put the brush down. I just want to finish. And then there again, we'll have people ask, well, why did you paint that tree brown and then paint it gray? Well, that underpainting of brown does greatly affect the gray that goes on top. And depending on how you put it on, you can leave it some of that peek through in spots, cover it up totally. But yeah, it does make a difference. And again, here we go. This is the part that I really enjoy. All these little tiny tick marks and brush strokes and a little line here and a dash there, that when you step back and look, go, it's all coming together. It doesn't look like a telephone pole anymore. And again, I'm not one to tell you, oh, this is a number 2 dagger brush, this is a filbert brush number 3, or I couldn't tell you what I'm using half the time. I mean, I do, but the reason I don't is because I'll pick up something and I'll use it, and if it doesn't work, I'll wash it out and I'll grab something else. If that doesn't work, I'll wash that out and I'll grab yet something else. And then when that one feels right and is doing what I want it to do, that's the one I use. And basically that's the way I learned what brushes do what and how they work. Just grab it and go, hey, I want to make little fine lines, let me try this. Nope, don't like that one, let me try this one. And again, here on YouTube, watching videos does help. People that do know what they're talking about and have the knowledge, you know. But even them, they say, I use this, you know, perfect artist to do beautiful things. I use this brush. If I try to use that brush, it doesn't always work for me. So, it's whatever feels comfortable to you. And that's why I don't say I'm using this brush, because one, I'm not trained. I have no idea what I'm talking about. And two, I find it to be very personal. It's personal preference. I do know one thing about any painting, drawing, or anything like that, is that light source is a big, big deal. Figuring out where your light source is, where your light is coming from, does play a big part. Now, the other thing I mentioned early on was making things breathe, giving things room. Here what I did was I mixed up the sky color. And what I'm doing is punching holes through these trees. You can see it. It just starts to come alive, giving it room to breathe. Just look up there now compared to what it was. Just by punching some holes through that greenery, through the tops of the leaves, through those trees. If you go outside and you look up, a tree isn't one big brown trunk that runs up through the middle with a big green ball on top like you drew when you were in kindergarten. No, there's branches, there's leaves that appear to be floating in air and attached to nothing because they're so far away and the branches are so thin. So when you look through even the densest forest, you can see those little punches of light coming through where you can see the sky. So don't be afraid to mix up some sky color. You don't have to go crazy. Even the smallest little dots here and there, just to punch some air in there. Let it breathe. Open things up. You'll be surprised what it does for your painting. And it also does let some light through. Gives things some breath. But once you do determine where your light source is, stick to it and keep it in mind throughout your painting. Now this isn't, again, I don't know what I'm talking about as far as artistic things, but I do know that when you look at something and you go, okay, the light is coming in from the left side, shining across to the right. Well, the far right side of something isn't going to be all lit up if the sun is behind that. There's going to be shadows. If there's a big canopy of trees overhead of something, you can't make it all bright and lit up because the light is just not going to get through. Now, you don't have to be, totally scientific about it. You do have some leeway, but some people, when they look at these things, are going to go, that just doesn't make any sense. I know I often do it. I critique things more of on things like that than I do, oh, well, that tree doesn't look like a tree, but, well, that tree's fine. But if the sun is coming in over there, how? It's impossible for this side of the tree to be all lit up and the other, no. It's it's just silly little things like that grab my attention. And I can't be the only one. So keep your light source in mind throughout your painting, the entire time you're doing it. Not just in the beginning when you establish it, but keep it in mind. Now I grabbed a fan brush and I am trying to make this pathway come to life a little bit with different brown tones and a little bit of reds and yellows, and I'm not trying to make it fall colors, look like a bunch of fall leaves, but I do want it to look like a dirt path, and it's not just a big brown blob on the ground. There are different colors and textures, and there's going to be shadows if there's a little clump of dirt or a rock or whatever. So just little things like that help your composition come along. And here I am I'm thinking about shadows and light again. This is one of those paintings I did, and I think I did that little lighted area probably like 3 or 4 times until I was happy with it. I covered it up and redid it, and covered it up and redid it. And I think somewhere along the line down the road, you will see on the bank there, that little spot between the trees on the right where that little green bush is. I think I decided somewhere along the line that, nope, I want more dirt, and I changed that as well. So yeah, through this painting, I changed things a lot. And another thing is, if you're painting, step back every once in a while, and just take a look, stretch at it, and take a look at it from across the room. Because when you're sitting up there in it, you know, all close, doing it for so long, things tend to you tend to zoom in and focus on certain things, and then when you step back and you look, you go, I need something over there, or I need this, or that doesn't quite look right, and other things. So every once in a while, get up and take a gander at it from not so close up. All right, now we're going to work on this tree right here in our face. So I spent a lot of time on this, trying to figure things out, what I wanted to look like. I think I went over things in this a bunch of times too. But yeah, different grays and darker, and some browns, and even some greens went into this. So I think I'll shut up for a while and let you guys just watch me fiddle with this tree. There you can see how it went light to dark real quick. Yeah, I didn't like it, so I changed it. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to change things. Say it often, and I'll probably say it even more often. That's the great things about acrylics. They dry. If you don't like it, change it. Paint over it. Getting some greenery here on the sides of the path. We are getting down to it here. Another area where layers and layers and layers, different layers, bring things to life. Get as detailed as you want. I could have probably spent longer on these, but that's the other thing that's difficult for me. When to stop? When do I stop? Should I add this here? Should I put one of these things in here? I don't know. Sometimes it is rough to know when to just put the brushes down, sign it, and call it done. And here's where I did just that. I called it done. I hoped you enjoyed this one. I know I had a blast doing it, and here it is. A nice little path through the woods. Walk with me, will you?
What we do here is go back.